Hi guys, I'm Tanya and welcome back to my channel, The Donkey Business. So I have a little birdie who works in a really good position in Netflix and told me that there is a whole South team that has come on board in Netflix, which means that in 2023, Netflix will be curating a lot of movies from South India. And somewhere I feel really good about this because South Indian movies are so good, because what the Hindi film industry caters to India is nothing in front of what South Indian movies does. I think they're way ahead of where India stands as cinema. So I am quite excited for Netflix to bring more South Indian movies on board, because it just means that it's going to be a wider reach and people are going to be involved in what I have been watching and raving about on my channel since so long. I think it was about time. Very recently, actually just yesterday, I watched a movie on Netflix which comes from the Malayalam industry and was a surprise. It was way above my expectations and was definitely one of the top 20 experimental films I have seen. The name of the film is Attention Please. It was recommended to me by you guys, and here I am going to be giving my review. I don't like to call myself as someone who reviews films, or I'm just gonna give my thoughts and talk about how I felt about Attention Please. So the movie's runtime is about 2 hours and it is a series of events that happens in a span of 2 hours. The first 1 hour of the movie is very dialogue based, very storytelling kind of a vibe, and there is not much movement and action happening in the first 1 hour of the film, or like the first 45 minutes. So as an audience, when you start watching the film, you might feel like, what the fuck am I doing here? Why does she recommend this movie? I'm not really enjoying it. It's kind of boring. But what I want to say is sit through it, because trust me, it's gonna be worth it. So the movie is basically about a bunch of guys who live in the same apartment and are struggling with their career. They mostly belong to the entertainment industry and have like a very creative mind. They all are doing like another job to pay their rent and their house bills, but their actual passion is cinema, out of which there is one guy who's a writer and he is uber talented, but he's not looked up by his friends because they just feel that his content is not up to the mark and they don't appreciate him as much as he expects. And so one day they are just like hanging out and he ends up narrating some of his horror and gore stories that he's written to them just to see how's their reaction. Now while he's doing that, one of the guys gets murdered. And honestly, I want to leave you to that. I don't want to tell you who murdered him, what happened that led to the murder, what happened after the murder, was it supernatural or no. I don't want to tell you anything, but this is basically the first 1 hour of the movie and that's the basic gist of the film. I want to give a special mention to Vishnu Ganesh, who played the writer in the movie that I spoke about, who was giving like a whole narration to his friends. Basic storytelling, because when he's narrating movies, they're not going in flashback. It's literally a close of his face talking about stories. I think he's done that very flawlessly and very wonderfully, because honestly those stories that he was narrating were not your everyday stories. They were intense, they were horror, they were hurtful, they were gore. They are not easy to explain to the audience, and you don't know how people who are listening to it are going to react to those kind of films, because I could honestly imagine everything that he was narrating. Make a special mention that while he was narrating those films, there was not much play with the BGM. It was just like basic music animations or like basic sound effects when he was narrating the films, and I think he still did a very good job because it was totally dialogue based. That when you're watching the movie in the first 1 hour, look out for the writer, the actor Vishnu Ganesh. I think he was incredible. Apart from that, I think the other guys, the bunch of boys, have also done a very good job. They looked very comfortable in their space. They were very okay with each other's vibe, and I think they all like supported themselves and each other. That's what I think the vibe. And I also read in one of the interviews that the director of the films mentioned that he used to live in an apartment with a bunch of guys when his days were tough, and the vibe and the chemistry of the boys was inspired from his real life events. This didn't happen with him, but just like how he created that vibe and comfort between people came through his real life events. So I think that was pretty evident because it was very raw, very authentic, and it looked like I was watching a house of bachelors, and it was a perfect bachelor pad, and it looked very amazing. The movie is definitely not for everybody. It is an indie experimental film and is very gutsy. To a very good extent, it does hold your attention as well. I don't know if I would recommend this movie to everybody. It is going to be liked by a limited audience because it does have a pace in the film that might not be applauded by a lot of people. It does have a story that a lot of people might not connect to, and I can see why that might happen. It's not a spoiler, but I'm just giving you like a trigger warning. So if you are someone who is ready to explore independent cinema and like experimental cinema and not judge and have expectations, then this is a film for you. But if you're looking for a very light-hearted film which is critically acclaimed and everybody loves and you have expectations, then skip this one. There is a lot in the movie to decipher. I don't want to give any spoilers to be honest, but let's discuss the movie in the comments below. There is a lot in the movie that I saw for the first time, and that's why it is on my recommendation list, because it did surprise me to a very good extent. It is definitely a very good try, and the movie was beyond just a thriller film. It did have a lot of underlying concepts as well. It did try to show a lot of things. The entire second half of the movie was totally opposite the first half of the film. The ending was incredible. It was unexpected and I really liked it. There was like this whole mystery vibe in the film which I really enjoyed. There were a lot of things that I loved in the film. It is not your 10 on 10 film for sure, but it is definitely one of the very good films I have seen this month, so you know where I am exactly coming from. I don't recommend this movie to everybody, but if you are someone like me who watches everything and anything and appreciates whatever comes on your plate, then this is a film for you, and I will see you very soon.